take, Mr. Chair.
Ruth Dyson, the Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Pleased to take a call in this part because I missed a large chunk of the earlier debate on this bill due to the fires in my electorate in Christchurch. And the combination of those fires very recently and the floods that we're still experiencing now is a very good reminder of this House of how much we owe to the firefighters around our country, whether they're rural and forest or whether they're volunteers or whether they're professional. In the Port Hills fires, those three groups joined together and did an amazing job of saving many houses. Tragically, one life was lost and many houses were lost as well, but it was an example of what I think the vision of this bill is. The part that we are discussing tonight might seem quite odd to some members of the House. It's all, what should we put in the law that firefighters should do? But actually it makes sense because you do have to do that because they have responsibilities, they have roles, they have additional powers that need to be granted by law. An emergency situation, in terms of access to water, in terms of controlling fires or prohibiting fires. So there's powers and responsibilities that this Part 2 gives them. It also deals with industry brigades, and I heard the comment from Damien O'Connor in this regard earlier. Industry brigades, and the Minister might correct me if I'm in error here, are the only group that are not actually formally under FENS now in this proposal, but there is going to be a memorandum of understanding between industry brigades, which are like company brigades really, that operate just around one organisation generally. There will be MOUs between them and the Fire Emergency New Zealand. I wish it was called Fire Emergency Services New Zealand, but I'll wait till next year and we'll just do an amendment to the legislation after we change the government. I guess it's probably the best way. One other point that I want to make in this contribution, and that's in relation to the SOP from Chris Fafoy. Deeply regret that Chris Fafoy had already used his 4 calls and couldn't get a 5th. I'd like to pose the Minister a direct challenge because, for me, the idea that some fire hydrants aren't being checked because the requirements of a traffic management plan, for goodness sake, are too onerous, so they're left in a condition that's not appropriate, they're not working properly, or even worse, the fire service are breaking the law or the requirements of the service and not having a traffic management plan when they check a fire hydrant. Either of those is unacceptable. We want the fire service, Fire Emergency New Zealand, to just work and work properly. They need to check the fire hydrants. For goodness sake, they don't need a traffic management plan when they go and put the fire out. I hope we never get to that extreme. This is a silly situation and it should be fixed. I would like a commitment from the Minister, seeing he's told us he's not going to support the supplementary order paper, to have in his letter of expectation on the conclusion of this legislation, his letter of expectation to the new Fire and Emergency New Zealand Fire and Emergency New Zealand Board, a requirement that they have a common sense approach to dealing with checking of fire hydrants and ensuring their safety. That's a really easy option for the Minister to take. Stop the board imposing such nonsensical and unnecessary requirements on our firefighters. They know better than pretty well anyone how to keep safe, actually. I have confidence that they will know how to check a fire hydrant without getting run over. And that's all you want. You want the fire hydrants to work, you want the firefighters to be safe. So that's my challenge to the Minister. I've enjoyed chairing the committee that looked at this legislation. This part was really funny, but I can assure all members of the House that we did look in a lot of detail about what powers we were giving to the firefighters, what responsibilities they had, and just really making sure that it would work. So if we can get that commitment out of the Minister tonight, we'll all go home happy, a lot happier than we would have been had we finished the evening debating the resource management legislation.
Jamie Lee Ross.
That the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary opinion will say no. The ayes have it. A party vote is called for. The clerk will conduct a party vote.